Hello, Oracles. Well, will Tesla stock continue to crumble today ahead of the PPI data? We shall find out. Now, again, yesterday, Tesla did fall 4%, but it outperformed the market. We got some great news from Martin Viecha, which we're going to dive into a little bit deeper today as well. But seeing this pullback just reminds me of going back to, the bull run that we had for the last 10 years, running into COVID, having that massive run over the last 2 years before we started falling back this year. So what I'm looking at in these times is, all right, well, we're in a suppressed market. We talk about it regularly that fortunes are born during bear markets, and it's because during those bear markets, buy and hold. And it's not just a matter of just buying whenever. You can do a lot of different strategies. You guys have to do your own due diligence on when you want to purchase. But I always say, hey, what are you looking at for a time horizon? If you're looking at Tesla, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, buying at any time right now really makes, good sense. It's not going to matter whether you buy at 300 or 250. That doesn't matter. So looking at all of that, just excited about the fact that I'm getting these opportunities to buy more at these levels. Because right now, as we're looking at all the fundamentals for Tesla, looking extremely strong for the next 5 to 10 years, if not longer. But the reason that the stock price is being suppressed is because of the macro environment. It is not Tesla-specific news. Yes, we have this Twitter overhang still going on. That is going on in court. We should find out on October 17th, unless they come up with some sort of deal before then. And we did have the whistleblower, Mudge Zatko, was in court yesterday, testifying, discussing a lot of things, but it sounds like he was more discussing a lot. It was a lot less about the bots and the actual specific information about the quantity of bots, and a lot more about, just the inept abilities of upper management and the board to actually control things as they should, as far as security measures go. But that is very near-term stuff that is happening. Some people can argue that, well, if Elon does end up buying Twitter, he's going to be distracted with that. We'll get to that when we get to that. But as of right now, when it comes to the actual fundamentals of the company, very, very strong. And the reason the stock price is being as suppressed as it is because of the macro environment. Now, we had some discussions in the comment between Zeshaan and Bob discussing how, we're looking very similar to the 2008 pattern in the market, where, we're going up and we're, still looking to retest the bottoms. Have we hit the bottom already when Tesla hit 620? Do we need to get back down to those levels and continue to test the bottom? Or do we have a further bottom to go? These are all questions that nobody has an actual answer to until we get to that point. A lot of things that can transpire between now and then. Some people think that Jerome Powell and the Fed are going to crash the market after the elections are over. Me personally, I think the stock market's going to run after the elections. So again, there's a lot of differing opinions that are going on out there, and I just try to take in everybody's piece and understanding and all the information that you guys are giving me and all the different data points that are out there to make me formulate, all right, this is the general idea of where things can go. And the fact that there's so many differing opinions that are out there tells me that this is why dollar cost averaging is the best way to go. Because when you dollar cost average, nobody knows where the market's going to go. Some people think that, hey, we're not going to pull back any further right now, and right now is the best time to buy Tesla. I personally think we are going to fall further, and we could fill that gap at 247. But as I was discussing in the comments as well with some of you, that because so many people are anticipating, this 250 and this gap to get filled, there's a lot of bulls waiting at that $250 level. So we might not actually get to that gap, because we might actually hit 250 and a lot of buying happens and we come back up and never get down to that level. A lot of things that can transpire between now and next year. So this is why I add daily, and this is why I add more as we dip. My strategy right now, if we do dip below 275, I'm going to start adding a little bit more. Very light, probably $10 to $15 per shot. But that's what I'm going to start doing until we drop below that, if we get down to that $250 level. And so just quickly looking at the charts, we've got RSI is at 53. That's right in the middle. Not overbought, not oversold. We're right in the middle. So we can realistically move in either direction. And I think the macro is what is going to end up controlling that. And we had volume yesterday that was a little bit higher. We had 68 million shares trading hands, which is much higher than the 55 million we had been having in the past. It is still low volume compared to where we were normally before the split, but we are starting to build up to that. So I'm wondering if we're getting a bit of selling pressure going on. We've got the PPI data that's coming out this morning. By the time you guys watch this video, we will most likely have that information. Expectations right now are 8.8%. Last month we were at 9.8%. So that is 100 basis point drop in expectations. So we'll see how we come in. We missed with CPI yesterday, coming in at 0.2% higher than expectations. So let's see how PPI plays out. If we end up in the same situation with PPI, I think we could see more red today. And so going back to the Martin Viecha discussion, Richard in the comments had mentioned how, one of the biggest takeaways that some people were missing about all of this was his discussion about the robotaxi and the robotaxi platform. And when it comes to disruptive technology, a lot of times it's difficult for people to really grasp what is happening in that disruption. Because when you're looking at the internet, people were like, all right, well, here's the internet. Well, what are the functionalities and capabilities behind it? And you don't know until you start using that disruptive technology. So as the internet has grown and the internet has been with us longer, we have found more and more uses for it. This is going to be very similar to what we're going to see with robotaxis. We have a general basic concept, thinking there's a vehicle that's going to be on the roads in the cities, and it's going to be kind of, not replacing, but sort of replacing mass transit. As Elon said before, you'll be able to go 5 to 7 cents per mile in these vehicles, which is much less than, even riding a bus. So being able to get these vehicles out there is disrupting mass transportation. But what other pieces of disruption can we get from this technology? We won't know until it's actually out there. What other functions can we have from it? We can fathom some things, we can come up with some ideas, but until we actually get to that point, we are not going to know. And I'm sure that Elon and the Tesla team have a great idea of what they think that is going to happen, of what their basic plans are for this. We know that they have already been discussing how it's going to be a platform that they're going to be using for their own fleet. So it's not just like, we discussed it yesterday, consumers going out and buying a robo-taxi. I think what's going to end up happening in the future is people can use their own personal vehicles with FSD as an Uber. That is something I plan on doing, but robo-taxis are a totally separate entity, and it's going to be one of those vehicles where, maybe you fit 6 to 8 people in it. It's basically just a shell of a car, no steering wheel, no pedals. Once we get to regulations, we'll get to that point. I think initially we may have to have steering wheel and pedals until regulations decide that they don't need them. But we'll get out there, and then these can be traveling around the cities and commuting people. You can see them, traveling. It's almost like limos that are going to be going around the city. There's going to be a lot of functionality behind this that I don't think a lot of people understand and grasp yet, but they will as soon as these come to fruition. So just things to pay attention to. So thank you, Richard, for bringing that up and mentioning it, because that is a very important point that some people it's hard to grasp. And again, when it comes to disruptive technology, exponential growth, just the fathoming, all of these things that could potentially happen are very difficult, and you really can't put any numbers to it because they don't exist. So how do you quantify technology that doesn't exist yet? It's not easy. So some people say, hey, you could take taxis, you could take buses, you could take Ubers and Lyfts, and whatever revenue comes in from them, you can kind of, get a rough ballpark of it. Sure, you can, but realistically, that is, just doing your best guesswork that you can. Most everything in the, looking in the future is guesswork. Even my valuations, pretty much everybody's valuations are a guesswork, based upon data that you have now. But, looking at the reality of what's coming out in the future, you really don't know. And we're not going to know until probably 2024 and 2025 the real impact that robotaxis are going to have on our society. And this whole mentality with disruptive technology and the impact that it's going to have translates right over to energy as well. And energy is going to be disruptive on such a mass scale. It's going to be larger than FSD and robotaxis. And that concept and the fact that it's hard to fathom the FSD and robotaxi disruption, so fathoming energy disruption is even more difficult. But I'm very excited to see that start to take off. So I'm really hoping that by the end of the year, we are going to see some more separate numbers coming out from Tesla when it comes down to energy, and maybe some margins coming out of there as well, because that is a question a lot of people have about power walls. So if you guys happen to know what margins are on power walls, let me know. As far as I know, it is very difficult to figure those out. And so looking at the stock price movements today, looking at the future, looking at the disruptive technology that is going to grow to a point where so many people cannot even fathom the size that it's going to get to, tells me that these times right now are blessings to buy. Not financial advice, but I am taking these as blessings to buy. I want to have a ton of shares to enjoy those massive runs that we had seen over the last couple of years. I was not there for that. I have heard from so many of you how exciting it was to have this massive portfolio just growing exponentially. These are the times right now, for those of us who got in a little bit later to the game, these are the times we have that opportunity to buy, like many of you guys bought from 2013 to 2018. You guys took advantage of that opportunity. You bought during those times. These are those times for us who came in later to the game. I'm excited about these times to buy more because I know full well we are going to get to those exponential price growth times again in the future. Let me know in the comments below, how long do you think the entire macro environment is going to be suppressed before we run? The way I'm looking at it is Tesla right now is spooling up and ready to take off, and as soon as this macro blanket is lifted, we are going to the moon. We could go to the moon, little bits here and there along the way, but I think the full run to the moon isn't going to happen until the macro blanket lifts. So let me know in the comments below when you think that is actually going to happen. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I do have a membership link down in the comments below as well. There are perks that come along with that, and you guys could check that all out down there. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat, that link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further and see some of my spreadsheets for valuation, production, and price targets, you could check out our Patreon, that link is also in the description. Thank you so much, have a great one.